The wind screamed across the frozen land, carrying knives of ice through the endless night. On that cruel world, nothing moved, nothing lived, nothing dared to stay. But there was one figure stumbling through the storm, one broken creature, one forgotten alien. His body shook under the weight of the cold, his skin cracked, his limbs weak, his eyes empty. Once he belonged to a proud race, a people who walked among the stars. But now, there was no race left. They had been hunted, burned, erased by empires stronger and more merciless. Now only he remained, wandering a graveyard of snow and silence. The alien had no clothes to protect him, only scraps of torn fabric clinging to his frame. His home was gone, his ship destroyed, his hope buried under mountains of despair. He walked not to live, but because he had forgotten how to stop. Step after step, he staggered forward, but inside he had already surrendered. The storm howled louder, snow cutting across his face. He tried to cover his eyes, but the frost bit into his skin. He fell once, then twice, his hands sinking deep into the white earth. Each time he pushed himself up, though his body begged for rest, but on the third fall, he did not rise. There in the snow, the alien closed his eyes. Memories came like fire in the cold. He saw the faces of his people, their laughter, their voices, the warmth of his home, all gone, stolen by fire and steel. He saw ships burning, cities crumbling, children crying, and he heard the silence that followed, the silence of extinction. He let the snow cover him, a final blanket. Maybe it was better to die here, where no enemy could find him. Maybe it was better to vanish into the white, forgotten by the stars. His breath slowed, his chest heavy, his heart weak. Death felt close, gentle, almost kind. But then, a flicker of light broke the darkness. Through half-closed eyes, he saw it. Warm and golden, cutting through the storm. At first, he thought it was a trick of the dying mind, a dream, a lie. But the light did not fade. It grew stronger, steady, calling him. With the last of his strength, the alien lifted his head. There, not far away, stood a small structure, a cabin, a human dwelling. Smoke rose from its chimney, fire burned inside, and on the wooden door, a lantern glowed. A home in the wasteland. Impossible. Unreal. The alien dragged his body forward. Each movement, a battle. His arms shook. His knees sank into the snow. He crawled, inch by inch, toward the light. The storm screamed louder, as if trying to keep him away. But he no longer heard the storm, only the call of warmth. At last his hand touched wood. The door of the cabin stood tall before him. He tried to knock, but his fist had no strength. He leaned his forehead against the door, waiting for the cold to claim him. Then the door opened. Light poured out like a wave, washing over his broken frame. Warmth struck his skin. Fire kissed his frozen hands. And standing in the doorway was a human. A tall figure wrapped in simple clothes, eyes calm, voice steady. The human looked at the alien, not with fear, not with anger, but with something else. The alien wanted to speak, to beg, to explain, but his voice was gone. His throat made only broken sounds, his body trembling. He expected the human to close the door, to push him back into the storm, for who would shelter a creature like him, a stranger, a remnant of a hated race? But the human did not close the door. Instead, the human reached out a hand, not with weapons, not with chains, but with kindness. The alien stared, unable to believe. Why would a human help him? Why would any human show mercy? The human smiled gently and spoke only 4 words. Stay forever inside. The alien's eyes widened. Those words struck harder than any storm. He did not understand them, not fully, but he felt them. They were not a command, not a trap, but an invitation, a chance, a gift, a promise. Before his mind could resist, his body accepted. The alien collapsed forward, falling into the light. The human caught him, steady arms lifting his weak frame. The storm raged outside, but inside, for the first time in forever, there was warmth. And for the first time since his world had died, the alien felt a spark of hope. What kind of human was this? Why would they open their home to an enemy? Why would they say, stay forever inside? The alien did not know, but he would soon learn, and the stars would never forget what happened next. The cabin door closed, shutting out the storm. Inside, the world changed. No more biting wind, no more endless snow, only warmth. The alien lay weak on the floor, his body shaking, but the fire wrapped him in heat. His frozen skin slowly thawed, and the pain of life returned. The human moved quietly, no rush, no fear. He placed more wood on the fire, letting the flames grow stronger. Then he lifted the alien with surprising care, laying him on a rough but clean bed. The alien tried to resist, tried to speak, but his body betrayed him. He was too tired to fight, too broken to flee. The human covered him with a blanket, soft and thick. The alien felt its weight, heavy, yet comforting. It was the first time in countless nights that he felt anything close to safety. Still, his mind screamed warnings. He remembered his people, remembered the betrayals, the cruelty, the chains. Why would this human be different? Why would any human be different? The human did not ask questions. Instead, he moved to a pot near the fire, stirring its contents. Soon the smell of food filled the air, rich and warm. The alien's stomach twisted in pain, reminding him of his hunger. He had not eaten in days, maybe longer. But pride held him silent. He would not beg, not from a human. The human returned with a bowl, steam rising into the cabin air. He held it out, his eyes calm, his expression steady. The alien hesitated, staring at the gift. Was it poison? Was it a trick? Was this the price of kindness? But the hunger was stronger than fear. With trembling hands, he took the bowl. The first sip burned his lips. The warmth spread down his throat, flooding his empty stomach. Tears filled his eyes before he could stop them. He hated the weakness, hated the shame. But he drank, faster and faster until the bowl was empty. The human quietly refilled it, as if expecting nothing in return. The alien whispered broken words. Not thanks, not trust, only fragments of confusion. The human listened, not interrupting. His silence was not cold, it was patient, as if he understood that words would come later when strength returned. Night passed slowly, but inside the cabin, the storm outside was only a distant sound. The fire burned steady. The human moved with calm steps. Sometimes he hummed a tune, low and soft. It reminded the alien of lullabies from his lost home. For a moment, he closed his eyes and imagined his people alive again, but the dream faded, and he remembered the truth. He opened his eyes, and the human was still there, sitting by the fire, sharpening a small blade. The alien's heart jumped, fear rushing back. Was this the moment the trap would spring? But the human only used the blade to cut wood, feeding the fire. Not once did he raise it in threat. The alien studied him in secret. The human's face was lined, his hair dark but touched with gray. His hands were scarred, but steady. This was not a young man, not a careless man. This was someone who had seen war, seen pain, and still chose gentleness. The alien's thoughts turned dark. He wondered what price would be asked. No human gave without reason. In the great wars, humans always took, always demanded, always conquered. But this one only said, "Stay forever inside." And those words echoed in the alien's mind like a mystery unsolved. At dawn, the storm faded. Sunlight spilled weakly through the cabin window. The alien sat up slowly, his strength returning piece by piece. The human was already awake, already working. He chopped wood, fetched water, tended the fire. He moved like someone who needed nothing from anyone, someone who lived not to take, but to endure. The alien broke the silence at last. "Why?" he asked in a weak voice. "Why save me?" The human paused, turning toward him. His eyes held no anger, no lies, only truth. "Because you knocked on my door," the human said, "and no one should die in the snow." The answer was too simple, too small, too impossible. The alien wanted to argue, wanted to accuse, but the human had already turned back to his work, as if saving a dying alien was no greater act than adding wood to a fire, as if mercy was as natural as breathing. That night, when the alien lay beneath the blanket once more, his body still weak, his heart still suspicious, he found himself listening to the crackle of the fire. He realized he had survived another day, and though his mind whispered warnings, though his soul carried fear, somewhere deep inside, a spark of hope began to grow. Hope that maybe not all humans were cruel. Hope that maybe one human's kindness could mean something more. Hope that this cabin, this fire, this warmth, as not just shelter from the storm, but the beginning of something he thought he had lost forever. And as sleep claimed him, he remembered again the words that had saved his life. Stay forever inside. He did not understand them fully yet, but he would in time. And when he did, the galaxy itself would tremble at the meaning. The alien woke to the sound of rain on the cabin roof. The storm of snow had passed, but the sky was still dark. Shadows moved across the wooden walls as the fire burned low. For a moment, the alien thought he was back in his own home, back before the war. But then he remembered, and the weight of the past crushed his chest. The human was already awake, sitting by the table, repairing an old coat. His movements were slow but steady, hands used to work. When he noticed the alien stir, he offered a simple nod. Nothing more, no questions, no demands, just the quiet company of a man who had seen many mornings. The alien sat up, Body stronger now, but his mind still heavy. Food was placed in front of him, bread and soup. He ate slowly, still unsure if this kindness was real. The human spoke little, and when he did, his words were simple. Eat, he said, or rest, nothing more. It was strange, too strange, for someone like him. For nights, the alien had stayed silent about his past. Fear held his tongue, shame locked his throat. He knew what happened to his people. He knew why they were gone. But speaking it aloud would make the pain too real. So he stayed quiet, letting the fire and the food cover the wounds of memory. But silence cannot hold forever. That night, as the rain turned to wind, the alien woke from a nightmare. He cried out, claws digging into the wooden frame of the bed. Sweat covered his skin, though the room was cold. The human rushed over, placing a steady hand on his shoulder. Easy, the human said, his voice calm. The alien's eyes widened, his breath sharp. He saw again the burning skies, the enemy ships raining fire. He saw his people running, screaming, falling. He saw the ground littered with bodies, and above it all, silence. The human did not ask, but the alien began to speak. His voice broke, but the words came. My people, they are gone, he whispered. All of them, hunted, erased. He told of the empire that feared his race, how they saw strength as threat, how they sent fleets to destroy without mercy. The alien spoke of the last day, of ships falling like rain, of fire swallowing cities, of mothers shielding children, of warriors dying with empty hands. He told of how he ran, not to survive, but because death had been stolen from him. Now he lived only as a shadow, unwanted, unclaimed, forgotten. The human listened, never interrupting, never judging. When the alien's words fell silent, the cabin was quiet too. Only the crackle of fire filled the space. The alien waited for anger, for fear, for rejection, because that was always the reaction, always the truth. But the human only said, "Here, you are safe." Simple words, but they cut deeper than any blade. The alien shook his head, unable to accept. "No one is safe," he said. "Not near me, not with me. They will come." His eyes darted to the window, to the dark forest outside. The human leaned back, his expression calm. "If they come, we will face them," he said. The alien stared, unable to believe. "We," he repeated. "Why would you risk your life for me?" The human's answer was steady. "Because life is not a thing to measure, it is a thing to protect." The alien lay back, his mind a storm of doubt. He had seen cruelty, betrayal, greed. He had seen humans who took worlds and burned skies. But this one spoke as if mercy was a shield stronger than any weapon. It was strange, terrifying, impossible. That night, as the alien closed his eyes, another fear grew inside him. Not just fear of the empire, not just fear of death, but fear of hope. Hope was dangerous. Hope, as a trap, for hope could be stolen, broken, destroyed, just like his people. In his dreams, he walked again among his homeworld. He heard laughter, he saw colors, he felt warmth. But then the fire came, the ships returned, the sky broke open. He woke with a gasp, heart pounding. The human was there again, silent, steady, watching without judgment. The alien turned away, ashamed of his weakness. He had fought armies, he had survived destruction. But here, in a cabin of wood and fire, he could not fight his own fear. The human spoke once more, soft but firm. "No enemy is stronger than the fear you carry." The words lingered long after silence returned. The alien knew the human was right. His greatest enemy was not the empire, not the hunters in the stars. It was the fear inside him, the fear that told him trust was death, the fear that whispered he would always be alone. And yet in the warmth of the fire, wrapped in the blanket, with food in his belly and a human sitting quietly beside him, for the first time he wondered if the fear could be wrong, if maybe trust was not the end, but the beginning, if maybe mercy was stronger than destruction. But as dawn broke and the alien looked out the window, he saw lights moving in the distant sky, shadows among the clouds, silent but watching. His chest tightened, his heart cold once more. Perhaps his past had finally found him. The alien stood by the window, his hands pressed against the cold glass. The forest outside was quiet, the storm gone, the air heavy with silence. But in the sky above he saw them, faint streaks of light moving like shadows among the clouds. They were not stars, not meteors, not tricks of the night. They were ships, enemy ships, searching, hunting, waiting. His breath caught, his heart pounded. They had found him. After all this time, they had found him. The empire that had erased his people had come for the last survivor. He stumbled back from the window, fear choking him. "They are here," he whispered. "They will kill me if they find me." The human looked up from the fire, his face calm, his voice steady. "They will not touch you here," he said. The alien shook his head, panic burning in his chest. "You don't understand," he cried. "They will burn your home. They will tear down your walls. They will end you, just like they ended us." But the human only placed another log on the fire, the flames rising with soft crackles. Outside, the sky grew darker, the ships moving slowly across the clouds. Beams of light cut through the forest, scanning, searching for life. The alien could almost hear their voices, their orders, their laughter. He had heard it before. On the last day of his people, he pressed his hands to his head, memories crashing down like thunder. The human walked to the window, standing tall beside him. Together they watched the silent hunt above. "They will come here," the alien said, his voice shaking. "They will find us. They always find us." The human turned his gaze from the sky to the alien, and with the same calm strength as before, he said, "Then let them come." The alien staggered back, unable to believe. "You cannot fight them. You are one man. They are an empire," he said. His voice broke with fear, his body trembling, but the human did not flinch, did not falter. He simply walked back to his chair and sat down as though nothing had changed. The alien's mind was chaos. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to hide, to leave the cabin and vanish into the forest. But another voice whispered inside him, a new voice, quiet but strong. It said to stay, to trust, to believe in the human's words. And that voice was strange, terrifying, yet powerful. Night deepened, and the ships remained. Their lights moved slowly, circling, waiting. The alien could not sleep. His Yes, locked on the window, his body tense with dread. The human, however, rested easily in his chair, his breathing calm, as if the sky was not filled with death, as if the danger was only a passing cloud. The alien whispered into the silence, "Why are you not afraid?" The human opened one eye, his voice low but firm. "Fear does not change the storm," he said, "but courage can change what we do in it." The words struck the alien, sharp as blades, yet soft as fire. For a long time, the alien said nothing. His thoughts were heavy, his heart torn between terror and the strange calm that the human carried. How could this man face death with steady eyes? How could he believe that one cabin, one fire, one human could stand against an empire? The alien did not understand, but part of him wanted to. The next morning, the sky was gray. The ships above still hovered, silent hunters in the clouds. The alien watched them from the door, his claws digging into the wooden frame. "They wait," he said. "They always wait, until fear breaks us, until we give ourselves to them." The human stepped beside him, his gaze steady. "Let them wait," the human said. "We will not break." The alien turned to him, eyes wide with disbelief. "We," he repeated again. "You speak as if my fight is yours." The human nodded once, simple, sure. "Your fight is mine," he said, "because no one should stand alone." The alien's throat tightened. No one had spoken to him like that since his people fell. No one had claimed his fight. No one had offered their strength. He wanted to believe, but fear still coiled around him like chains. What if this human was wrong? What if mercy was not enough? That night, the alien dreamed again. He dreamed of his people calling his name, their faces smiling, their hands reaching. But then the ships came, the fire came, the screams returned. He woke with a cry, his body drenched in sweat, and in the dim light, the human was already there, watching, steady as ever. "They are closer now," the alien whispered, his voice broken. The human nodded, his expression calm but firm. "Then we will be ready," he said. The alien wanted to argue, to scream, to beg him to run, but the words died in his throat when he saw the fire in the human's eyes. It was not madness, not pride, not foolish hope. It was something stronger, something the alien had never seen before. It was the power of a man who had chosen not to fear, not to surrender. The alien stared at him, trembling, and for the first time, he wondered if perhaps one human truly could stand against the storm. But outside, the sky burned brighter, the ships descended lower, their search growing sharper. The forest shivered under their presence, and the earth seemed to wait. The alien gripped the edge of the table, his voice breaking. "They are coming," he said. "They are coming here." The alien could not rest. Every shadow outside looked like an enemy soldier. Every sound in the forest felt like footsteps of death. He paced across the small cabin, claws tapping against the wooden floor, eyes darting to the window every few breaths. But the human sat by the fire, sharpening a knife with calm hands, his face steady, his breathing slow. It made no sense, none at all. At last, the alien snapped. "How can you sit there?" he cried. "How can you be calm when they are above us, when death waits in the sky?" The human looked up, his eyes calm but deep. Because I have seen worse, he said, his voice quiet, and I learned that fear cannot rule me. The alien froze, confused, unsettled. What have you seen? He asked, his voice sharp, his heart pounding. The human set the knife aside, leaned back in his chair, and for the first time, his gaze turned far away. The firelight flickered across his face, shadows deepening the lines of age and memory. I was once a soldier, the human said, a man who walked battlefields, who carried death on his shoulders. The alien's chest tightened, his claws curling against the blanket he held. The human spoke slowly, like a man lifting stones from his soul. I fought in wars across worlds. I saw cities burn. I saw children cry. I saw men tear each other apart. He stared into the fire as if it carried the ghosts of his past. I carried a rifle. I wore armor. I marched where I was told, and I killed when ordered. The alien's eyes widened, his body tense. So you are like them, the alien hissed. A killer, a soldier, a destroyer. The human shook his head, his voice steady but heavy. No, he said. I was like them, but I chose another path. His eyes lifted, meeting the alien's, filled with a light that burned but did not wound. I walked away because I saw what war makes of men, and I refused to let it own me. The alien did not understand, not at first, to leave war, to leave an army, to leave power, who would turn from strength to solitude. Why, the alien asked, his voice trembling. Why leave when you had power? The human's answer was soft but sharp as truth. Because strength without mercy is only cruelty, he said, and mercy without strength is only hope without hands. He leaned forward, his scarred hands open in the firelight. I learned that true power is not in how many lives you can end, but in how many you can save. The alien stared, his throat tight, unable to look away. He thought of his people, proud warriors who fought until the last breath. They had been strong, but the enemy had been stronger. What good had strength been without mercy, without kindness, without unity? Perhaps that was why they had fallen, not only to fire, but to the silence of being unloved by others. The thought burned, and yet it also healed. The human stood, walking to a shelf near the wall. From it, he pulled a small box. Worn and scarred, he set it on the table, opening it slowly. Inside lay medals, old and rusted, symbols of wars long past. The alien stared, confused. These were given for victory, the human said, his tone dry, almost bitter. But they are heavy, heavier than any chain. He closed the box, pushing it aside. I keep them not for pride, but as a reminder of what I will never be again. The alien swallowed hard, words stuck in his throat. For the first time he saw the human, not as just a quiet man in a cabin, but as someone who had carried the weight of battles greater than anything he had known. A man who had walked through the fire and chosen to step out of it, not because he was weak, but because he was strong enough to refuse. That kind of strength was new, alien, impossible. Why help me then? The alien asked, still shaken. Why risk your life for mine when you owe me nothing? The human's eyes softened, his voice steady as the fire. Because mercy is not about owing, it is about choosing, he said. I chose to open my door to you, because no one should freeze in the dark, no matter where they come from. The alien trembled, his heart heavy with something he could not name. Silence filled the cabin, heavy yet alive. The alien sat in the glow of the fire, his fear still present, but changed. The ships in the sky still waited, the danger still circled, but now he saw the human not as fragile, not as careless, but as something far greater. A warrior who had laid down his sword and found a new kind of weapon. Mercy. The alien turned toward the window, the clouds glowing faintly from engines above. They will not stop, he whispered. They will come for me. They will come for you. The human placed a hand on his shoulder, strong and steady. Then let them come, he said, his voice like iron wrapped in warmth. They will learn what it means when a man chooses mercy over fear. The alien closed his eyes. For the first time, he felt that maybe the fight was not his alone. Maybe, just maybe, one human could stand. Against an empire, not with fleets, not with weapons, but with something far stronger. A past of war, a heart of mercy, and the courage to protect even the last forgotten alien. The forest did not stay silent for long. One morning, the alien woke to the sound of engines, deep and heavy, shaking the ground beneath the cabin. He rushed to the window, his heart stopping when he saw the lights in the sky. The enemy ships had descended, their shadows crawling across the trees. From their bellies, soldiers dropped, black figures moving with purpose, weapons glowing in their hands. The alien's claws dug into the wooden frame. They are here, he whispered, fear burning in his chest. They have come for me. The human stood by the fire, calm as ever, untying the straps of his coat. He checked the knife at his belt, the rifle leaning against the wall, but his eyes were steady, not frantic. "They will not take you," he said, his voice like stone. The alien turned on him, anger and terror mixing together. "You do not understand," he cried. "They cannot be fought. They are many. You are one." The human shook his head, stepping forward, his face lit by the fire. "Mercy does not mean weakness," he said. "It means I will stand, even when the odds say I should fall." The alien could not answer, his throat tight, his heart breaking with fear. Outside, the soldiers spread through the trees, their voices carried in the wind, harsh and sharp. "Search the forest, leave nothing hidden. The last one must not escape." The alien froze, his whole body trembling. The words were the same as the day his people died, the same command that had ended everything. The human placed a hand on his shoulder, steady and firm. "Stay inside," he said. "Do not move unless I tell you." The alien grabbed his arm, desperate. "They will kill you," he begged. "They will burn this cabin. They will end us both. Be." "Oot!" The human only smiled, a quiet, fearless smile. He opened the cabin door, the cold air rushing in. The alien wanted to scream, wanted to stop him. But his body would not move, his voice would not rise. He could only watch as the human stepped out into the snow. One man against the weight of an empire. The soldiers appeared between the trees, their helmets black, their rifles raised. They spread in a line, weapons aimed at the human who stood alone in the clearing. "Step aside," their leader shouted. "Give us the creature and you may live." The human stood tall, his breath misting in the cold air. "You will not find him here," he said, his voice steady. The alien's heart pounded as he watched from the window. The soldiers laughed, their voices cruel. "One man thinks he can defy us," the leader sneered. "Do you know who we are?" The human's answer was calm, almost quiet. "I know what you are," he said. "Fear-wearing armor." The soldiers stiffened, their weapons flashing as they prepared to fire. The alien gripped the edge of the bed, unable to look away. This was madness, he thought. Mercy cannot stand against guns. Yet the human stood unshaken, his hands open, his voice calm. "You came to kill a survivor," he said, "but I will not let you." The leader snarled, stepping closer. "Where is the alien?" he demanded, his voice like thunder. The human's eyes narrowed, his face unyielding. "He is under my roof," he said, "and under my protection." The soldiers murmured, their weapons rising higher. The alien's chest tightened, fear breaking him inside. Why would the human claim him? Why risk his life for a stranger? He pressed his forehead to the window frame, tears burning his eyes. No one had ever stood for him before. No one had ever chosen him. The weight of it was almost too much to bear. Outside, the leader gave the signal. The soldiers moved forward, their boots heavy in the snow, rifles aimed to kill. The human did not flinch, did not move. He reached for his rifle slowly, but his voice was still calm. "Thought is your choice," he said. "Leave now, or face what you fear most." The alien held his breath, waiting for the storm of fire, but the human did not fire first. He waited, patient. One soldier stepped too close, raising his weapon, and in that moment, the human moved, swift as a hawk, sharp as lightning. His rifle cracked once. The soldier fell, silence echoing in the trees. Chaos erupted, soldiers shouting, weapons blazing. The forest lit with fire, snow exploding where shots struck. The alien ducked, his heart racing, his mind screaming. But when he looked again, the human was still standing. He moved through the storm with deadly grace, each shot measured, each step steady. The soldiers faltered, their line breaking. They had come expecting fear, expecting surrender, but they found only a man who fought with both mercy and fire. He did not chase them when they fell back. He did not strike the wounded. He held his ground, his voice rising above the gunfire. "This cabin is mercy," he shouted, "and mercy will not fall." The alien's chest swelled with something new, something fierce. It was not fear this time, it was awe. He saw in the human not just strength, not just courage, but the power of a man who chose to protect instead of destroy. The soldiers began to retreat, their leader shouting in anger. "We will return," he vowed, his voice carried on the wind. The human lowered his rifle, his breath heavy but his eyes still calm. "Then return," he said softly, "and you will see mercy again." The clearing fell silent, the snow stained with shadows of battle. The alien collapsed onto the bed, his body weak, his heart pounding. He whispered into the empty air, "How can one man stand against an empire?" And though the human could not hear him, the answer was clear, because mercy in human hands was stronger than fear. The snow was red in patches, marked by the retreat of soldiers. The cabin stood untouched, its fire still burning, its walls still strong. Inside, the alien sat trembling, his body weak, his eyes fixed on the man who had stood alone against an army. The human wiped his rifle clean, calm as if nothing had happened. But to the alien, it was not nothing. It was impossible. No one had ever fought for him. No one had ever said, "You are mine to protect." His people had fallen without allies, their screams lost in the void. But here, in a wooden cabin at the edge of nowhere, a single human had faced the Empire and sent them away. The alien's heart beat fast, not with fear this time, but with something new, something fierce. The human set the rifle aside and sat by the fire. He did not celebrate, did not boast, did not claim victory. He only looked into the flames, his face calm, his breathing steady. To him, the battle had been just another moment, another choice. But to the alien, it was the turning of the universe itself. "Why?" the alien whispered at last, his voice raw. "Why risk everything for me?" The human turned, his eyes warm though his body carried scars. "Because life is not a debt," he said. "It is a gift, and gifts are meant to be given." The alien stared, unable to speak. His people had been taught strength above all, but strength had failed them. This man spoke of mercy, and mercy had saved him. The days that followed were tense. The soldiers had retreated, but their leader had promised to return. The alien feared the skies, feared the shadows in the trees, but each time he looked at the human, steady in his work, calm in his movements, his fear grew smaller, not gone, but smaller, like snow melting under the warmth of fire. One evening, the alien sat outside, the stars glowing above. He thought of his people, thought of their end, and for the first time, he did not see only destruction. He saw memory, he saw story, he saw the chance to carry them in his heart. The human joined him, sitting quietly beside him, no words needed. After a long silence, the alien spoke. "My people are gone. I am the last. But if I stay here, if I live, maybe they will not be forgotten." The human nodded, his face steady in the starlight. "Then stay," he said. "Stay forever inside, and their memory will live with you." The alien felt tears rise, but this time they were not from despair, they were from hope. The Empire did return, days later, more ships, more soldiers, anger in their march, but this time the alien did not collapse in fear. He stood in the doorway of the cabin, the human at his side, and for the first time, he felt not alone, but strong. The soldiers shouted demands, weapons raised. The alien's body trembled, but his voice did not. "You will not take me," he said, his voice carrying across the snow. The human stood beside him, rifle in hand, and together, they faced the army once more. The battle was fierce, the night filled with fire and echoes, but the alien saw something he had never seen before. The human did not fight for hatred. He did not strike for conquest. He fought with purpose, with mercy, with strength that did not destroy but defended. And in that fight, the alien saw what humanity truly was. When the soldiers finally fled, beaten not by numbers but by will, the alien collapsed in the snow, exhausted but alive. The human helped him up, steady as always. "Now you see," he said softly, "mercy is not weakness. It is the shield that fear cannot break." The alien nodded, his throat tight, his heart full. That night, inside the cabin, the alien sat by the fire. He looked at the human, this strange being who had changed everything. "You gave me more than life," he whispered. "You gave me a home. You gave me hope." The human smiled, his eyes warm, his voice calm. "And you gave me something too. You reminded me why I chose this path." The alien tilted his head, confused. "What did I give you?" he asked. The human's smile grew softer. "You gave me someone to protect again, someone worth the fight." The alien lowered his gaze, his chest heavy, but this time, heavy with meaning. Outside, the forest was quiet again, the sky clear, the stars endless. The Empire might return, storms might rise, battles might come, but inside the cabin there was fire. There was shelter, there was mercy. The alien wrapped himself in the blanket, warmth filling his bones, and he whispered the words that had saved him on that first night. "Stay forever inside," he said, his voice soft, his eyes closing. The human nodded, his voice steady. "Yes, stay, because you are home now." The alien drifted into sleep, not with fear, not with despair, but with peace. And in that peace, he knew that humanity's greatest gift was not strength, but mercy.